What's up, guys? Welcome to the premiere episode of the Build or Rebuild series, where we break down NHL and NBA teams that we feel need to build, rebuild, retool.
Make some serious changes
this offseason.
Yeah.
So this will be going on throughout the summer, and we'll update them as moves happen.
Yes.
But I think what better place to start than the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Not the Montreal Canadiens. They're
No.
still in the playoffs, but the team they beat.
The team they beat, as we thought we might have been talking about the Montreal Canadiens in this series. Maybe not the first episode, but definitely this series.
Yeah.
But here we are talking about Toronto as they lose their sixth straight playoff or play-in opening series. Since they haven't won a series since 2004.
No, they have not.
So what I'm speechless.
So here's the issue in talking about rebuilding or beefing this team up.
Yeah.
Goaltending, they were good enough to bench Frederik Andersen throughout the playoffs because Jack Campbell was good.
Yeah.
He was a legitimate starter for them.
Yeah.
Next year, if they can't keep Frederik Andersen back,
Yeah.
or if they can't bring him back, they need a solid backup option, right? They need someone that can platoon with Campbell and maybe overtake that job because you don't know what he's going to be next year.
No.
You don't want a Tristan Jarry or Matt Murray situation where you rely on a goalie that only performed with such a small figure. So goaltending is definitely up in the air. I'm not sure what Frederik Andersen's going to get in the offseason. He could get paid because of his resume. He has been a fantastic goalie, and shame on Toronto for wearing the guy down, making him your whipping boy and giving him nothing.
Yeah.
I don't see why he would return, and I don't think he will.
He wasn't really appreciated.
No.
Like he should have been, and like other teams in free agency that'll make him offers will appreciate him.
Yeah.
They never gave him the defensive help until this year that he needed.
Like for a period in time, he faced the most shots against for years.
Yeah.
It definitely is it's a disappointing story for me because I like Frederik Andersen and I thought he was a goalie that could have taken them somewhere.
Yep.
But they never gave him the defense. Let's move on to defense. This is the best they've had.
Yeah, because
forever. They have a complete defensive core.
Yeah.
So how do you improve that? I don't know how.
I don't know either. I don't really think defense was the issue in this case, especially in this past series with Montreal. They just couldn't score, and that's been the narrative of them losing in win or go home games. Past 5 out of the past 6 playoff appearances they've had.
Yeah.
They can't score when it matters most.
I agree for the defensive part. The only thing for me is I feel like they have too many pieces, or at least like Rasmus Sandin and Travis Dermott as of now do the same thing.
Yeah.
So I think it may be wise to move on from one of those guys for a shutdown guy. You have Justin Hall. He's a good, valuable player to keep around.
Yeah.
Brody and Muzzin may be on a decline.
Yeah.
Morgan Riley, you obviously have to keep.
Yeah.
So if they can figure out what to do with Sandin and Dermott, I think that would fill them out and maybe move on from Dermott for a more shutdown defensive guy.
Like they need that shutdown D option is what you're saying. So, on the free agent market, like, is there anyone that you go out and get?
So for someone on the bottom pairing, Adam Pelech is going to be available. That would be a great option. He's an RFA, and the Islanders kind of need him, so he may not be available. Ryan Murray is a guy we're going to mention a lot of.
He's injury prone. There's a risk, but there's a reward if he works out. So
another guy, David Savard, we're going to mention a lot of. I don't think they can afford him.
He's going to be the cream of the crop when it comes to
He's going to be highly sought after. Some guy that you would, for Toronto's sake, hope to fly under the radar. Again, we're going to talk about him a lot. Is Derrick Forbert.
Yeah,
I think he may be a good option to fill out that bottom 6. He's a physical guy, and he's a pretty solid shutdown defenseman.
Yeah.
So I think that may help if they can get someone like that. Patrick Nemeth is available. Ian Cole may be available. So there are always those shutdown options. You just have to figure out what you're going to do with Dermott. So on the back end, because I think you go with Sandin, he's younger. They're both playing about the same level.
They've invested a lot into Sandin.
Yeah, so I think Dermott's the guy to get rid of. You still have to figure out what to do with Liljegren. I don't know.
The question is, like, because Dermott's an RFA this year. Mm-hmm. Do you just not qualify him and just let him walk?
He has enough value. I think you qualify him and seek out a trade.
Okay.
Whether you get picks or get something on the forward core.
Yeah.
That's what I would do with Dermott.
Because, yeah, some teams will need that.
Or trade for a shutdown guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you have the upside in Dermott. He can be a legitimate top 4 offensive-ish threat.
Yeah.
Like a Jake Gardner when he was in Toronto.
Yeah.
He could be like that for another team. I don't think it'll work out for him in Toronto. I don't think he'll get that opportunity.
No.
So I think now's a good time to move on.
So
that's it for defense, though, right?
Yeah,
we can move on to their forward group.
As we talked about goalies,
and that's been their highlight, but it's not enough on paper.
Yeah,
should be the best offensive forward group in the NHL. The power play's been underwhelming.
Yep.
The Graybeards, I don't know what they've been calling them. They didn't make an impact. I thought having Nick Foligno especially would have helped them go far and deep.
Spezza made an impact.
Spezza was,
Thornton
in my
made a bit of an
opinion,
impact.
Yeah, that made the biggest impact. Thornton wasn't bad, but I was disappointed in Simmons and Foligno this season. I thought they would have done more.
Yeah.
Or been larger figures on this team.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't help that Simmons went out injured for an extended period of time. I think the narrative may have been a little different on Wayne Simmons if he doesn't go out so early for so long.
Yeah.
Because he never really looked comfortable after that. He did some impactful things, but he wasn't the Wayne Simmons before he got injured. He was off to a good start.
Yeah. Yeah, he was on that first line.
Yep.
You are right in saying that. But throughout the seasons, the only old guy to look good and comfortable in Toronto for me has been Spezza.
Yeah.
The rest of them, not so much. Again, I was disappointed with Foligno in Toronto. Not to say he was bad or Riley Nash was bad. He was benched a lot of the time. But I thought they could have made more of an impact. I did like Simmons at the beginning of the season, though.
Yeah.
He fit well on that top line.
Now, I think the important thing actually, before we go into that, let's talk about who, like, is there anyone, like, I know it's tough, especially with the cap hit Toronto has, if the cap remains at $81 million like it did this year, which most likely it'll remain close to that.
It's a flat cap for the next 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So for this year, next year, it's going to be $81.5 million.
Yeah. So they're roughly at $69 million right now. So that leaves them about 12.5 to work with in free agency. And that's if they don't trade anyone or.
So the priority's got to be a goalie.
Yep.
David Rittich is not coming back. Frederick Anderson, sadly, I don't think is, and I think he should move on to a team that's gonna have a good decor for him.
And Kyle Dubas came out and said that
they're building around.
Around Campbell. Campbell's at $1.6 million this year. He's very affordable, and I think you have to. It's not like it's a little different in the sense that Matt Murray, when he played so well, won them 2 cups in Pittsburgh. I guess a similar situation to what Campbell is in a limited sample size. He played well. Toronto really doesn't have anything to lose at this point because they haven't advanced anywhere. At this point, they kind of have to roll with them. I think Campbell is more comparable to Jordan Binnington in a sense where I think that they can have sustained success with him.
He was a first-round pick.
Yeah, so I think Campbell's a little different than a lot of these guys. I think he will be, if not a great, but a solid everyday starter.
Yeah.
So maybe he doesn't, like, his low end is not going to live up to Frederick Anderson, but high end, he could be one of the better goalies in the NHL.
He could be a solid starter, maybe like a Varlamov level where you get quality seasson after season.
And you can win a cup with him. There's been worse goalies than Jack Campbell that won a cup. Sure. So I agree with you that they definitely need to look at some sort of backup goalie.
So goaltending's the second most important thing because Campbell should be okay for next season.
Yeah.
I think their most important signing this offseason is bringing Hyman back. If you can
Yeah.
bring back Hyman and if you can get a good backup or at least platoon goalie to go with Campbell, I think if you can do that for, let's say, it's reported that Hyman's looking at 5.5 mil.
Okay.
So hopefully you can get a goalie for 3 to 4.
Yeah, because that would leave, if Hyman gets 5.5, if they don't move anyone else, that leaves 7.5 million.
Yeah. I think Kerfoot's cap hit has got to go.
I think he played well enough in the playoffs on that line with Nylander that his stock went up, and at $3.5 million, it's a trade friendly contract.
Yeah.
That there's probably going to be a lot of contending teams or even rebuilding teams. Maybe they try to work something out with Seattle in an expansion draft to try to take him, but I think they'd want someone back.
Those are two good guys though in Dermott and Kerfoot. You can get a good return on the both of them.
Yeah.
Or a decent return, whether it's players for right now or picks or whatever it may be.
Yep.
You can get some quality out of that.
Mm-hmm. I think one of their biggest needs is, Foligno's probably going to be gone. They bring him back. I think he's probably out of the old guys, probably the most likely to come back.
Of the old guys, I think Spezza is the most likely to come back.
If he doesn't retire.
Yeah, Spezza and Thornton may retire. Thornton said he's not looking to make that decision now.
No.
He said he's looking to spend some time with his family, so we may not hear about that anytime soon.
He usually waits. If it was anything like last year, he waited pretty late.
Yeah. But Simmons and Foligno, they're both going to be playing hockey next year.
I don't think that they sign back Simmons.
I don't know if they're going to bring either of them back. Simmons, it's tough to say what Simmons is now because you can't just bank on that hot start.
No,
because Toronto has a hot start every year.
But you also can't bank on, him taking a while to come back from injury either, because the injury was big. Like, you can't bank on an injury. You have to try to find that middle ground of, what do we really have here in Wayne Simmons? Yeah, and I don't think they really know right now.
Another guy I think would be a good trade piece would be Pierre Engvall at 1.5. I mean, like, these guys are making crazy money. But these are guys that you aren't overly relying on.
Yep.
I think get guys you can rely on. I like looking at that Winnipeg line with Adam Lowry, Andrew Kopp, and Mason Appleton. Get guys like that.
Yeah.
To fill out your depth, to have a shutdown line behind Matthews and Tavares, Nylander, and Marner.
Yep.
Who I think they're all going to keep. Should they? That's debatable. I would debate that they should. As long as they can fill out their roster.
From the sounds of their season-ending press conferences,
the big guys are coming back.
They seem committed. I think if the two guys that come to mind, if they were to trade someone, would be Marner and Nylander.
It's not happening.
It's not going to happen. Marner. The only reason I put him there is from the standpoint of he has struggled in the postseason. So maybe they look to move on, and that's a type of change, because there would be suitors, despite his $10.9 million. There would be suitors for him,
for sure.
And William Nylander, I guess at 6.9 is a little. It's a
good contract.
It's more trade friendly for sure.
Yeah.
And he played well. I think they keep them. I think they keep course right there. Do I agree that they should? I don't know.
If the one trade I told you, which can't happen because John Tavares is not going to waive his no trade clause, but Tavares and Nylander for Jack Eichel.
If they could make that trade happen, I do like that deal, but it's unrealistic at this point because the trades with three big guys like that just don't happen anymore.
Yeah. But a trade like that would be nice.
If they could find some way to get Jack Eichel in there, that would work wonders.
Because Jack Eichel wants to play playoff hockey, and Jack Eichel in the playoffs, his first playoffs, he's going to go off.
Mm-hmm. He's got something to prove.
Yeah. Having two big guys like Matthews and Eichel, that will rival McDavid and Draisaitl as long as they can keep their depth, unlike Edmonton.
Yeah.
Galchenyuk, I think's gone. Nash is gone. He was riding the bench.
Yeah.
But they really need Hyman back. 5.5 may be a little much, but he was at points their best player these playoffs. So
they were even in that game 7, he had 2 glorious chances. Like he was one of the few guys that was making chances. That until the third period, he looked like he was all in, and then just as a team, they collectively just looked gassed. So
yeah. So what do you think on this forward core? Because when this series ended, you were kind of like complete overhaul. You've obviously mellowed out.
I have because I realized just how hard a complete overhaul would be in Toronto.
Yeah.
I think they've really kind of bought into this is what we are, and we have to try to win with this.
Yeah. Yeah, it would take a lot.
I think they definitely. I think it's. I don't think Joe. Like if I just had to make a prediction, I think Joe Thornton retires. I think Jason Spezza might retire. I don't think they bring back Wayne Simmons. Maybe they find a way to bring back Foligno, but again, I doubt it. I think there's going to be a lot of suitors for him in the offseason. Galchenyuk gone, Nash gone. So I think they definitely need depth, and they definitely need scoring depth.
From what I see in terms of scoring depth, if they lose all these guys, they don't have much in the system. They have Robertson, and Joey Anderson as guys I can see that can step up.
Yep.
Outside of that, I'm not sure what they do. They have to go out in free agency. If they could get Nick Foligno, I think a full season in Nick Foligno will make a difference for that team. The other Beards, I think you could be comfortable losing. You're not overly reliant on them. If you can keep them, keep them. But Nick Foligno, hopefully those 2 young guys can step up.
Yeah.
And that'll fill out some of the holes.
They definitely need to get creative with the limited cap space they have. And also
the one thing I like about Jason Spezza is he's willing to sign league min deals.
Yeah. I think they need league men guys. They need low contract depth there that's capable of scoring. And they definitely need to find a way to build this team sustainably without draft picks, because they have 3 picks in this upcoming draft, rounds 2, 5, and 6. And then they only have 3 picks in 2022, rounds 1, 2, and 7.
And if they can't make something happen in the offseason, those picks may be, at least 2022's picks may be gone.
Yeah, so they don't
for deadline deals.
So that's why, and I think after I saw that was when I really started to realize that rebuilding and gutting this team isn't really an option, because they don't have the draft capital already. Like, they can obviously add to it if they were to trade guys.
Well, any playoff team, you can't tell them to rebuild, because rebuilds don't guarantee anything.
Toronto's, if they're a lower level playoff team it's different, but Toronto is usually near the top of the league.
Although they haven't made it out, they're a contender, and I don't think it's time to lose hope.
No. There's a lot of things. I do think it's getting, like, at the start of the year, I probably would have said it was a put up or shut up year for Kyle Dubas and Brendan Shanahan.
No, they're probably going to stay. If this happens next year, though, because after this is the series where they have to wake up.
This is the worst loss that they've had.
Yes, this is you have to wake up after this one, because you're up 3-1, and it's not Boston, where Boston is the better team.
Yeah.
Right? You're the better team than Montreal. You lost to a team that shouldn't have made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Now Montreal's playing well, and they're probably going to go to the conference finals. That still doesn't matter. That's not enough for them to excuse this loss.
No.
They have to go out, and I think next year, if not this year, should have been, next year's got to be the year they do something, at least one round. Yeah. And I'm almost comfortable guaranteeing that they will win.
Yeah.
Because if they don't, they may have to blow it up or make a major move.
Yeah.
It depends on if they lose, what causes that loss.
Yeah.
But I don't project they will.
Yeah.
Mostly because they can't.
Yeah. Well, there's not a whole lot more to talk about until they actually start making moves and we get into the off season. So we'll definitely keep you updated on that. But
the big
unless
one,
you have
so
anything else.
yeah, the big one I was just gonna ask. So we agree they need Hyman. That's their priority. Goalies.
Yeah.
What are you thinking in Toronto? Because I'm thinking it's got to be someone between $3-4 million max. What do you think they can get for $3-4 million?
$3 to $4 million.
I'm looking. Florida's gonna have to get rid of a goalie because they have Bob Dreiger, whatever, and Knight.
Yeah.
I think because of the contract with Bob, they have to keep him, so it leaves Dreiger available. That may be a good option. That's
he'd be a
two
good option.
unproven full season goalies.
And I think Dreiger would. I think he'd be looking between $3 to $4 million. He did have a lot. He was, a big part of when Bob was struggling. He came in and played well.
Both seasons, of these past 2 seasons.
So I think
Peter Mrazek, if you can get him at a discount, may not be bad. But if Carolina goes deep,
it's
he
probably
won't be
because
cheap.
of him. So
Yeah.
It gets tough.
What if they bring back Jonathan Bernier? He's been fantastic in Detroit. He's been Detroit's best player for the past few seasons.
Because Detroit doesn't have a whole lot to work with there.
I like James
Reimer. Maybe. I don't know. It gets tough. They're gonna have to get creative.
I don't think Halak's gonna return to Boston. They have Swayman and Rask.
Yeah.
Unless Rask retires, but if Rask retires, they may need an upgrade.
I think if Rask retires, they're gonna go out and look for maybe like a Grubauer or an Allmark or something like that.
I don't think Grubauer is going to leave.
So I don't think Grubauer is going to leave Colorado either.
Yeah.
But like Grubauer and Allmark are the guys that Boston are going to have to look for, which means that Yaroslav Halak could very well be available for the Leafs.
Yeah, because Boston's not going to move on from
So
Swayman.
those are the type of guys that they need.
Yeah, something like that would be good for Campbell if they can keep Fred.
Yep.
Because he's a good guy in the locker room. Again, the only reason I don't see him coming back is because I think Fred deserves better.
Fred deserves better, and Fred deserves money that Toronto doesn't have if they want to bring back Hyman, Foligno, and all those guys. So
yeah.
So with that, is there anything else you want to add to this? I think, again, we're going to have to wait for more moves and stuff to come in. And
we'll keep you updated.
Keep you updated on that for sure. But with that, that was our first episode of the Build or Rebuild series. So look for these on Wednesdays and Fridays.
Yep.
And then, yeah, so make sure that you like this video. Comment down below what you think the Leafs could do. Subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the updates.
And let us know if you think they should just overhaul or if there are minor moves they can make.
Yeah.
Because we're curious to see how the Leafs fans are feeling. Obviously, we know you're all very upset.
Yep.
As you should be. Very disappointing season.
Yeah. So like, subscribe, comment below. Follow us on our social media pages so you don't miss our daily updates.
The link tree down in the description. So check that out.
Check that out. And with that, that's it. So we'll see you for another one of these series midweek, Wednesday, Fridays.
One of those 2 days.
Yep.
Peace.
Peace.